Welcome to Create Your Happy, the podcast that empowers conscious women in life, relationship, and business. I'm your host, Christy Holt, happiness, hussy, and conscious funpreneur on a mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. Now get ready, because on this very special bonus season, we are going to take your entrepreneurial journey to a whole nother level. These uncut conversations are designed to support you as you unleash your entrepreneurial brilliance upon the world. My incredible guests and I have come together with a shared vision to empower women to fully embrace their humanness, find their unique voice, and lead with love. All right, gorgeous, it's time to get curious and become inspired. It's time to create your happy. Welcome to this week's masterclass. This week I have with me Tarin LaRoux, who is a Pinterest strategist extraordinaire, and I absolutely can't wait to dive into this incredible conversation. I know I have questions. I don't know about everybody else watching, but I have questions, and I am excited to learn from the Pinterest queen. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you are having an amazing day. I'm just going to try that. No, that's not what I want to do at all. I want to stick with this. Okay. Amazing. So welcome to this week's masterclass. Tarin, introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about who you are, what you are up to, and what gives you the title of, well, I don't know if you use the title of Pinterest Queen, but I'm using it for you. So welcome. Let us know a little bit about your history and your story.
Thanks for having me, Christy. I'm excited to talk about all things Pinterest because I am kind of obsessed. So howdy from Texas. I am a Pinterest queen, finally stepped into the role of queen and not just a Pinterest princess after all these years. I am a homeschooling mompreneur of 3. I have 2 older boys, and we added a little girl into the mix almost 2 years ago. And I've been working with Pinterest specifically since 2017. I've learned a lot along the way and really how to leverage the platform for passive income for service providers and coaches who are just completely underutilizing the platform. I actually got to turn my Pinterest obsession into my profession back in the end of 2020. And it was totally different because I had been running it as a side hustle for so long. I thought that I could just keep running it as a side hustle, but now we've niched down and we have really defined the messaging that we help people with through my agency, which is Swish Social. And I not only help take Pinterest completely off your plate, but now I'm offering digital courses as well as coaching opportunities to work one-on-one and coming soon a mastermind. But I'm just so passionate about Pinterest because it has so much potential. And it really is just this huge platform that so many entrepreneurs are sleeping on because they don't understand how it works, being just totally different. Yeah.
So tell us, how is it different from other social media? What makes it so particularly useful as far as leveraging it to get our offers out there, to promote our podcasts, to promote our books, to promote our courses, to promote our coaching?
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's funny actually that you called this masterclass series the other social media, because Pinterest often does get lumped in with all the social media apps out there. And while it does have a lot of social aspects, like there's group boards, you can technically message people on the platform, you can leave comments on pins, it is not really a social media platform. It is, in fact, a search engine. And because it has those social aspects, I like to refer to it as a hybrid. And so you're really getting like the best of both worlds. You're getting people to engage with your content, and you're getting this really special search engine benefit, which actually is putting you in front of people who are searching for what you have to offer. And they're like already looking for a solution. So once they get on the platform, like user intent, first and foremost, is just totally different than social media. Because when we we go to social media, we're looking, we're doing a lot of scrolling most of the time. We're getting sucked into like the doom scroll, and you just don't know when to stop because you get sucked in and you're looking for something. It may not be something in particular, but you're looking for something to find some inspiration, but it often ends up being more of the comparison trap and feeling like you should be doing something instead of doing this doom scroll. And when you go to Pinterest, because you're there with an intent to find a solution, you're actually finding the inspiration that you want to find. And then you're actually doing the things that you have found on Pinterest. So that's one of the biggest differences in Pinterest itself.
And I think that's really interesting because on social media, we are typically we are at the mercy of the algorithm to tell us and show us whatever the algorithm feels that we want to see. And let's be really clear here. The algorithm's intent is actually to keep you stuck in the doom scroll. So it's not likely to show you those posts that inspire you to leave the app. Rather, it's going to show you those posts that are going to make you angry or upset or, emotionally activated so that you stay there and engage in the app, right? So This sounds to me like a little taste of freedom where you're able to go onto a platform and find what you want, like Google, without getting sucked into the preferences of the algorithm. You can actually look for and find what you truly want, to be inspired, to find ideas, to connect with people who provide those solutions, right? And that sounds, well, frankly, just a whole lot better than a lot of social media.
That's why I've got a bias towards it. It's just a different atmosphere. Like, people get inspiration there and they're ready to take action. They're going there because they're like, not just what's for dinner, but how do I launch a business? How do I grow my business? And how do I become a better person? They're asking questions that they may not feel comfortable asking on social media because nobody's got eyes on them to judge them, which happens a lot on social media. And on Pinterest, it's always been about unlocking the best version of yourself through this discovery. So you're able to actually curate what shows up in your feed on Pinterest simply by saving stuff that you like. And it gives you more of that. And I think that's just really brilliant in itself, because you can engage all day long on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And the idea behind it is that they'll show you more stuff like that. But my husband, he has the hardest time with Facebook showing him anything he actually wants to see because they want to make him emotional, right?
Yeah. I'm reading this book, Stolen Focus, at the moment, and it is a fascinating, yet albeit a little terrifying, read on what social media is really doing, and especially as far as our ability to focus, right? It is a massive distraction. It is literally built for the ad dollars. So they will do whatever they need to keep you on the app because that means more to their bottom line. So instead of showing you the things that you truly want to see, they really make you go out and hunt for it. And I see this a lot in my feed. I'm like, ad. Oh, one person that I know, ad, right? Suggested stuff, whatever it is. And so it is really challenging in these days and times to work against that, to find the things that we truly want. So this is very appealing it feels very refreshing, honestly, to think about logging into something and actually seeing the things that you want to see.
Yep. And that's just from a user perspective. So let's shift a little and talk about from a business perspective, from a marketing perspective. It is a gold mine is the first thing I want to say. Because number one, it is often just put at the bottom of people's to-do list. So there is a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs to stand out on the platform simply because not everybody's doing it. Like everybody jumped onto Threads as soon as it came out, and not everybody jumped onto Pinterest when it came out. A lot of times that is because there is a bit of a setup to be Pinterest ready. And let me try to clarify that too, because when you go to Pinterest, you find your pretty pins and you find answers, and what you're going to do is actually click on the pin to go to somebody's website. Usually like their blog. It might be a freebie, especially if it calls it out like free whatever. You're like, yeah, I need that. Give it to me. That's exactly what I was looking for. And you sign up for it. So first and foremost, you need to have a website to direct traffic back to. Yes, you can use just a single landing page. If you use ClickFunnels, things like that, that does work. But I find that because the people who discover you on Pinterest have never heard of you before, they're brand new into your world, you really want to find a way to keep them in your world. Mm-hmm. And one way to do that is by having a website that kind of guides them to that next step, whether it's read more blog posts like this, check out my podcast that actually goes into further detail on this topic, or sign up for my freebie or my masterclass, because surprisingly, people do spend money even though they've never met you before, because they're in that active decision making. They're looking for exactly what you have to offer. And so if your landing pages, your content is persuading them that you are the authority and the expert in this field and you have the answers that they're looking for, they are way more likely to sign up as a first-time visitor than even people who have may have engaged with you on social media. And let's be honest, it is really frustrating posting in groups like, who wants my free thing before I make it paid? And then you have 100 DMs and then you get ghosted on half of them. Like, you can be calling in clients that are really ready to work with you, really ready to invest in what you have to offer, simply by showing up on this platform full of active decision makers. Oh. No DMs necessary.
I'm like, honestly, who doesn't want those kind of leads flowing into their world? Like, that sounds like a dream, like so much less effort.
and the other really huge benefit about putting yourself out there on Pinterest versus social media is that the content that you're putting there lives forever. Like, I read a stat, is some big name posted like, oh, here's the shelf life of all of the social media platforms. And it was like, Pinterest was like 6 months. And I was like, that's cute. But I have clients who get cyclical returns on like a yearly basis from pins we did 3-4 years ago, because it keeps serving. It's really insane how long your content can live there. Whereas on social media, you know, you're lucky if somebody finds your post again in a week. Yeah. And that's why it's like, it's all about pumping out the content on social media. You got to be new. You got to be fresh. You got to keep up with it if you want to please that algorithm.
Yeah. And you've got to be really consistently showing up. And I know there's some people that say you don't have to post every day, and that there's all kinds of different schools of thought out there on how often and what kind of posts and all of these things. But the truth is it doesn't last very long. And before long, you're going to have to recycle and bring those messages back out there, or else they're not going to be seen. And then, of course, like I said, you're really at the mercy of the algorithm as far as what are they going to show to people. And if you're not, I'm not a really terribly inflammatory person. So I'm not sure, right? If I do notice that if I post something that is slightly inflammatory, well, that's the post that blows up. And I don't do it to be inflammatory, but, you know, sometimes things are interpreted in a certain way. And one of the ones I posted was like, you know, I don't like Star Wars. Don't come at me. That one, oh my goodness, it blew right up because people are like, what? But that's not really moving my business along, right? No. Posting these kinds of posts to get engagement is not really bringing clients in or bringing any, I don't like the word leads, but for all intents and purposes, it's not bringing people into my world that would potentially want to work with me either. So I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about the kinds of things that you see people promoting through Pinterest. I know we mentioned like podcasts and books and stuff, but tell us, what is the extent of the kinds of things and how we can promote all of those different kinds of things using Pinterest?
So, first of all, Pinterest is great for tons of niches out there. A lot of people think it's just for like bloggers who share their recipes or their DIY tips. But if you actually go to Pinterest and you do a quick search for your niche, chances are you are going to find content that already exists there, because people tell me all the time, Pinterest is my Google. And they are going there before they go to Google because they are used to these visual searches, and that's how they want to see it. Because, like, how many times have you gone to Google and you're like, just go to the images?
Oh, for sure. I definitely have done that, because sometimes just you need to see something in a visual image, not just a bunch of words.
Yep. And so that's the first way that you get somebody's attention, is through the images, and then it brings them back into your home, your website. Through your website, you can be promoting pretty much anything that you have to offer that's evergreen. And evergreen means that it's always available, should be always relevant. So seasonal content can still be considered evergreen. And surprisingly, people are searching for seasonal content on Pinterest at really weird times of the year. Like I'm not kidding. At the beginning of summer, people are like, okay, I'm ready for Halloween. Let's start looking for Halloween stuff. So you want to be ahead of the game, and having it live there forever really just boosts it. But if you have evergreen content like a blog post or your podcast, or you take your podcast and you turn it into a blog post, if you have a free offer that absolutely does really well on Pinterest, you can share your paid offers that have instant access into them, like courses, masterclasses that are pre-recorded, even challenges that are like sent out via email or video, something that you don't have to say, okay, well, thanks for signing up. I have a wait list and I'll open it back up in 3 months if you remember me. Because again, we're talking to people on Pinterest who are ready for solutions, even if they're not even if they're not converting as soon as they land on your website. Chances are they'll save your content to one of their boards, so that when they know who to go to. And then it's just this crazy goodness, it like boosts you by having people save your stuff on Pinterest, because Pinterest says that, oh, look, people like seeing this. We're going to share your stuff with other people now. And then they save it, and then other people see it, and it just goes on and on and on. And so that's kind of the social side of Pinterest, without ever having to talk to anybody or convince anybody anything.
Yeah. And like I say, that sounds like a dream. I always laugh in this, the people that come in your DMs and say something like, how would it be like to have 75 more calls booked this week? And I'm thinking, like, my literal fucking worst nightmare. No, I don't want to have 75 calls booked this week. How would I have time literally for anything or anyone else if I were doing that? So I think we're all ready to move away from that. I don't even know what to call that. I'll say framework or strategy, because frankly, just no, that's not what people are wanting as coaches, leaders, helpers, mentors, healers, all of these kinds of people. We want to be doing the helping, the healing, the mentorship, the coaching, not taking endless phone calls with probably very loosely qualified leads, if qualified at all.
Yeah.
So I know you have mentioned to me before, and I've seen through your content, that Pinterest is a little bit more of a longer game, but that you have recently sort of been talking about a bit of a workaround to speed up that timeline. So will you share a little bit about how we can start getting results a little more quickly?
Yeah. Okay. So you hit the nail on the head that, yes, Pinterest's content lasts forever. And, stuff that you do today is still going to be seen in 3, 6, 12 months down the line. But being a search engine, Pinterest has to first understand what your content is about. And that's all based on the keywords. So remember when we opened up Pinterest earlier and you search for your niche, that's like the base of your keywords. And you have to make sure that you're using the most relevant keyword for your content that you're sharing so that Pinterest can say, okay, I see exactly what this is about. And so when somebody searches for that keyword or keyword phrase, they're able to show it to them in that list of results. It takes Pinterest a good while to understand your content, if I'm being honest, like 3 to 6 months. So when you get on there and you're focusing on an organic forward method, you absolutely want to keep in mind that the first 3 months, it's going to look like nothing is really happening. You're going to be getting a few little views. You're going to be getting a few little saves, and hopefully you'll be getting some outbound clicks back to your website too. But really around that 90-day to 100 days of consistency is when you start to see this huge uptick that just continues to grow exponentially based on the stuff you've already put in, and then you just keep feeding it new stuff. We'll talk about how to add new stuff in just a minute.
Okay.
But to speed that up, there's a couple tricks that I found. Number one, organically, you can utilize things like Tailwind communities and share your new content in there with people who are actively using Tailwind, which is one of the top schedulers for Pinterest. It was built for Pinterest, and so it has a lot of really Pinterest forward features, including their communities, which are kind of like group boards, but you have to be on Tailwind to use them. And you're sharing people's stuff from there into your boards, and people are sharing your stuff into their boards, which just helps Pinterest to understand what your content is about even quicker because it's being shared by people in your niche. And oftentimes people question like sharing other people's stuff because it almost seems counterintuitive to share somebody like competition on your profile. But the fact of the matter is that it's going to be found by somebody if it is already a like trending viral type pin that has been around for a while. People are going to find it no matter what. So if they're finding it from your board and they're saving it to their stuff, then that again tells Pinterest you've got stuff people want to see, and they're going to boost everything that you're doing.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yep. So organics is insane on Pinterest because again, you're reaching these people who are looking for you based on keywords they're searching for. But Pinterest also holds a special place in my heart because they have promoted pins, which are ads on the platform. And it is a almost surefire way to get instant results on your efforts. In addition to them showing more of your stuff when people click on your promoted pin. Promoted pins are so cool. They're like next level ads. From my experience running them, you can get away with running really low cost ads. First of all, like $5 ads per day, and you can be getting the lowest cost per click you've probably ever seen. and having that wiggle room actually allows you to test things. You can test designs and see what's resonating with people based on who's actually saving it and who's actually clicking through on your designs. What's the messaging? What are the keywords that you're targeting? And that's another point, is that in your promoted pin strategy, you can target people based on keywords. So you're actually showing up in those search results when people are looking for what you have to offer. And that's really like just a welcomed idea. It enhances their experience. Whereas, like you were saying on social media, it just detracts. You're like, okay, I'm not here for that. Like, what else we got? But on Pinterest, you're like, oh, yes, that does look like something I need. And a lot of times you don't even notice that they're ads because they're speaking to you.
Interesting. And I know that I've seen you mentioning that this will also help shorten maybe that 90 to 100 day
slower organic reach and really speed that up? Because I remember, I'm going to let you say it, but I remember you saying that this can really shorten that lead time.
So in addition to it, like bringing in people from the promoted side, when people click on that pin, what Pinterest does is show them related content. And so if you're putting stuff out organically and it's related to that pin, right, because it's in your niche, then they're going to be like, hey, look, there's some more stuff for you from the same person. It also shows other people's stuff, but it'll show more of your content as you put more content out there. And those are all organic, and people are then saving them, clicking through there. Because as a Pinterest user, I'm sure you've experienced going to a pen and maybe not clicking through, maybe not saving, but scrolling up so you get more like this, and you find something that does call to you and you act on that one. So it does help with the organic side as well. And then Pinterest doesn't like make your pin disappear after you stop running the ad. If people are saving and engaging with the pin, it still has that powerful potential to keep showing up in people's feeds organically, in addition to the money that you put into it. So it's just a really awesome Kickstarter to anybody's profile.
Yeah, and who doesn't want a little boost when they're getting started on a new platform? Because I tell you what, there's no boosting over on Threads. I'm just gonna say I did set up the account. It's very easy to do, and I like to put out short little snippet content, which is not really for the Instagram. It works well on Facebook. It doesn't work on Instagram. So I thought, well, Threads might be great. It's just crickets over there. And to be completely fair, I am also not spending time scrolling on there. That's not how I prefer to receive my content. I really love the engaging community back and forth feel of Facebook for that, as opposed to the Instagram or Threads or Twitter. I'm on them, but it's honestly just more of like holding up a presence and like not being absent than it is about me spending any time building that. So I would love to hear, I know you have some incredible ways of setting this up. So a couple of questions. Number one, I know that you have a checklist as to whether you are Pinterest ready. So would you like to share a couple of highlights from that? As far, I know you mentioned you need to have a website, but is there anything else that people need before they start getting to this place so that they can start moving in that direction if that's something they choose? And then also, once they are set up, I'd love for you to share, set up and ready for it, share some of the offers that you have around getting them out there on Pinterest, and maybe even these ads and managing, and just tell us what you got, Tarin.
Okay, so I do have a setup checklist guide that will go like really in depth. I built it specifically for coaches and service providers. And so what I'm about to share with you is geared towards my coaches and my service providers. You can get onto Pinterest as an e-commerce business as well. And you don't need to have all these things I'm about to explain to you because it works just a little bit differently, but it's still advisable. So number one, to pre-qualify yourself for Pinterest, you want to make sure that you have a website. Yes, a landing page would work, but I highly recommend that you have an entire website, because that is going to showcase your authority, and people are instantly going to trust what you have to say based on you showing up as an expert. Once your website is ready, you also want to make sure that you have an evergreen sales funnel. So something like your freebie that leads into a paid offer, and not just, hey, book a call with me and sign up for my one-on-one, because people on Pinterest tend to be a little more introverted and they don't want to hop on a call with you. They want to test out the waters first. They want to taste test your mini courses and things like that. And then they're ready to actually work one-on-one with you. You also should have in mind an evergreen content strategy, something like your podcast or a blog or both, because you can really be repurposing either or to do both. And it just makes sense because you can target people who have different learning styles. my favorite is when people use their YouTube video that they recorded their podcast on, and they have the video, they have the podcast, and then they have the whole thing in blog post form. So you're reaching everybody. And a lot of times people don't go to Pinterest to watch videos. Like, we might find short form videos there, but we're not really there to watch 20-minute episodes or listen to 20-minute podcasts. We might discover a podcast and add it into something that we've subscribed. But usually people are expecting to find a blog post. And so having that available, make sure that people are going to stick around a little bit more.
Are you tired of feeling burnt out and overwhelmed by trying to please everyone else? Do you find yourself constantly putting other people's needs ahead of your own, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and resentful? Break free from the cycle of people-pleasing and take back control of your life. Learn how to identify and break free from the patterns of people-pleasing that are holding you back. Learn practical tools and strategies to set healthy boundaries and prioritize your own needs so that you can find a sense of peace and fulfillment in your life. Imagine waking up each day feeling energized and excited about your life. Imagine living life on your own terms. Don't wait any longer to take control of your life and find true happiness. The Path to True Happiness and Authenticity, a masterclass for people pleasers.
So if you've got all three of those things, what you're going to do is go to Pinterest and you're going to do your keyword research. I always suggest to get like at least 20. Usually we do up to 50 keywords. And it's so cool because when you go to Pinterest and you type in just one keyword, just like it does on Google, it gives you some additional options to search for that people are actually looking for on that platform. And that's another thing to really call out, is that you want to do your keyword research on Pinterest, because even if you have some keywords that you're trying to rank for in SEO, they may not be exactly the same on Pinterest, and it's just best to double check. And then you're just going to take your keywords and your keyword phrases that have like 3 or 4 extra words on them, and you're going to put them somewhere safe, like a spreadsheet or a Google document. And that way you can refer back to it time and time again as you produce new content and as you're creating descriptions for your pins. You can also use these keywords, and you should use these keywords to set up a couple of boards on your profile, like 5 to 10 boards that really represent your brand as a whole. And it also should be a good variation for like all of your content to live. So you want to make sure that you have something kind of like broad, like if you help people get organized or moms get organized, because that's a little different than just everyone. If you're helping moms, then you would probably have like home organization ideas, kids' bedroom organization ideas, how to declutter this specific room. And you can get a little more specific. And that way you actually have a board for your content to live no matter what you're putting out there. And then if you have new content that doesn't fit into any of those boards, you can just create a new one based on the keyword research that you've already done, or doing new keyword research. So those keywords, again, they're like the backbone of Pinterest. So you have to have them pretty much everywhere. You want to have them on the pin design itself, because Pinterest can actually read your image. And we all know there's usually text on a lot of the pins that we find. So you want to include the keyword that you're trying to rank for on the pin. There is a title for your pin and a description for your pin. And you want to make sure that it's included in there as well. And then you're going to save them to a board that has like an overlapping keyword, matchy in both the description of the board and the title of the board itself. So it really leaves no question in Pinterest's bot mind what that pin is about, and they can share it every time somebody searches for that keyword.
And that's ideal, because a lot of times, we put content out on other social media platforms. We are really kind of just at the mercy of the algorithm to show the people, and we have a lot more control, it sounds like, here as far as who that's getting in front of. So that is absolutely going to help us not just get more reach, but get more relevant reach with our content. And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want more eyeballs? People who actually want what we have looking at our stuff.
They're like more qualified in a sense, because they're like, they already are aware that they need something. And I know it's so easy to talk to people on Facebook and Instagram, but you find those people who are definitely stuck in their ways and not looking for a change yet. They're not looking for a solution. And that's the beauty of Pinterest, is that they already are. They're at least dipping their toe in, even if they're not 100% serious yet. They're going to save it for later and come back when they're ready to take it on.
Yeah. Incredible. That definitely sounds appealing. And it definitely sounds a little bit less, well, I'm both overwhelmed and then also feel like this would be a much more effective strategy. So, Tarin, let us know, how do you help people who, like me, are feeling like this sounds incredible, but where the fuck do I even start? Because I'm not really an avid Pinterest user and I don't know too much about the app. So, help me, Tarin.
Well, you can download my free guide, which will get you started on the platform. And if you're still like, I ain't got time for that, I do offer a power up, which actually does the whole setup, keyword research for you. Then we set up your boards. We create templates for your brand based on what's actually working on Pinterest, so you can use them over and over again. And then once your profile's all set up, we get together for a whole hour to really deep dive into your pinning strategy, so that you're confident in DIYing your pinning strategy and know exactly how many pins you should be sending out, how often you should be sending them, where exactly do they go again, and how does that all work through Tailwind and through Pinterest's native scheduler and things like that. Because it's a lot to understand at the beginning, which I think is a big reason people just ignore it, because it's not the same. But honestly, once you get started on the platform, because you're not doing so much of the back and forth, and you're also not doing so much of the content creation, you're able to like really let it work for you instead of having to constantly work for it. And I think it's easier than traditional social media. Once you understand what you're doing there, you're just sharing stuff you've already done.
And so, just as an interjectory question here, because it's on my mind and it might be on other people's minds, what kind of timeline, how much time are we needing to kind of, budget in our very busy schedules to maintain this once it's going? I know there's a bit more in this setup, but like, hit us with the truth, Tarin. How much time do we need to commit to this on an ongoing basis to get these ongoing results?
It's definitely going to depend. You might get faster. What I do is kind of batch create designs in a single day. It takes about an hour for me to do 10 pins. And then to actually schedule them out for like a week to 2 weeks ahead takes about an hour as well. Using Tailwind has been like a game changer to easily schedule stuff without having to worry about when and where it's going. It sorts all that for you. They also have other cool features like their ghostwriter, which helps you write your pin descriptions.
Okay.
And so you're putting in just a couple of hours a week, and you're not having to necessarily create new blog posts all the time, new copy and all that. Like, you're literally creating new images for content that you already have on your website and just sharing those out on a daily basis.
Okay. All right. That sounds like a little bit less efforting than coming up with the constant social media posts as it is. So tell us what you also offer for people that are like, that sounds great, but I do not have any more time or space. On my plate is full. What can you offer to those folks?
Yeah. So my bread and butter is actually running Pinterest management for my clients. So we take care of the setup for you, and then we do all the keyword research every time we're sending out pins. And of course, we take care of the pin designs and actually get them scheduled for you, in addition to tracking the analytics and seeing what's working. We also get together on a monthly basis to deep dive into how you want Pinterest to work for you. And again, talk about how it's going so that we can make sure that we're utilizing it to the fullest potential. I honestly have got my 6-month package around because of it being a long game, that a lot of people get to that 3-month mark and they're like, hey, it looks like something's happening, but it's still not fast enough. And once we get to that 4, 5, 6 months is when things really start to take off, and you're seeing like over 1,000 clicks back to your website on a monthly basis, and seeing how those are converting so that you can then improve your landing pages to get better conversions. And it's all, it's an organic focus, but we also include a very low cost ad budget in there so we can get you in front of more people more quickly. And that is really something special that you can take advantage of without having to know how it's all working.
Yeah, that is really helpful for people who are really busy. And hey, we're not all in love with the social media. So sometimes it's just helpful to have someone who is really excited and passionate to take that over so that we can focus on the things that we are, a genius at doing.
Yes.
What else do you want to share with us on this incredible topic of Pinterest and or creating passive income? Any other insights? Don't see any questions here at the moment, but I think I've been asking quite a few myself. So anything else that I might have missed, the common questions that you might get?
I barely touched on it, but like creating fresh content is still a necessary thing on Pinterest. It just looks a lot different. Yeah. It's where you already have your podcast or your blog post or your freebie, and your fresh content, it comes in the form of new pin designs. So even just sending out one new image Monday through Friday is enough to make Pinterest happy, even though it's all going back to the same link. It says, oh, look, a new pretty pin. We're going to show it to people because it's new and it's pretty. And so it's a lot less stress than like, oh my God, I have to put out a new blog post. Like Pinterest likes your new links too, but you should be focusing more on like the quality of your content versus just spitting stuff out or recycling stuff you've said on social media that's not as valuable as a full blog post just to have something. It can definitely be reused over and over again if you have a really awesome blog post or a really awesome evergreen offer.
Yeah. And if you have a podcast, I haven't done this myself, but there are incredible tools out there. First of all, to get transcripts from your podcast, which then you can use. And then if you're even more so inclined, then you can go ahead and use some of the AI to help you do the writing of the blog post, which really takes things from one thing to another with little effort. And I mean, obviously you have to read it and do some editing because AI still sounds a bit robotic and might not sound like you. However, what I have really discovered from playing around with, say, ChatGPT, is that the more you work with it, the more it starts to understand how you speak, the language that you use, the words that you use, and it will learn, which is wild and crazy to me, but it will learn how to write like you would. And so over time, this gets actually easier and easier because it starts to know, okay, well, Christy writes in this kind of tone. It's very empathetic. It's very fun. It's upbeat. It's inspiring. These kinds of things. It's more motivation. And so when you put the input in, we'll spit back the output based on this, getting to know who you are and what you speak and who your audience is, so that it can really give you a really good starting point. Might not be a finished product. So let's be honest here. You're probably not putting it in, spitting out perfect end product. But it's giving you a heck of a starting point and at least some key points that you can develop into your blog post or whatever else you're wanting to create out of that written content.
Yep. I have clients who do that because it's working smarter rather than working harder, because a lot of the people that I work with are podcasters, and you guys like to talk. You don't like to write.
Well, I like to do both, but yeah.
I'm backwards. I got to like write my whole episode out, and then I turn like my long form blog post into the podcast and take from that my social post. But you can do that all from a single podcast episode, and using the transcript is just like a brilliant way to tell AI, here's what happened. And And there's so many options out there nowadays too that are like helping you create it. Tailwind has their own AI. I mentioned Ghostwriter for descriptions, but they have one for blog posts as well. Okay. And it's really nifty because it'll give you the title. It'll give you like 5 different titles that you can choose from. And so you're getting like hooks and great titles that you can pull from that. And then it goes and does the whole blog post for you, which again, it still sounds kind of not human syntax-y. So you gotta go in there and tweak it a little bit, but it is really a head start from having to like spin your wheels and feel like you don't have anything to talk about.
And I find, just now I've gone on a tangent about AI and things, people really love and hate it. And it's okay wherever you land on that, that's absolutely fine. But I'm with you. Like, let's work smarter. Let's work more efficiently. Let's get it to do some of that legwork for us. It can be really helpful. You know, I have used it especially for creating, you know, the top 5, blah, 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 for a video. And now it's not creating a video for me. It's just giving me ideas of what I could talk about in that video. And then I can see like, oh, well, actually, I don't like this number 4. I'm going to swap that out for this thing. But now in just moments, I have a loose framework for a live video. So instead of sitting there like, oh my God, like, what should I talk about today? I'm not really sure. Like, I know I have some things to share on this, but like, it's overwhelming and I'm not sure, you know, about going live until I know exactly what I have to say. And this used to be me when I would go live. I just would be like stressed out and I would need to have a script before I could feel confident going live by myself. Less so in a conversation, because that's a whole different energy, which is absolutely why on my podcast I have guests, because it just is fun and engaging and so easy for me and absolutely in my zone of genius. But if I were going live just by myself, when I was first starting out, especially, man, I could really use some of these tools to give me those ideas, to just spit out some potential thoughts around an idea, convey the message that I want really clearly and concisely, make sure I'm not missing some sort of key point that I'm in my fluster, you know, missing. And I just find it's an incredible tool. And like I say, the more that you work with it, you can have it analyze your writing style and you can really get it to work very efficiently for you. Now, again, yes, it's not the cheat code. It's not the end all be all. It is simply a tool, my friends. So if anybody out there is thinking like, still curious, haven't checked it out, like, check it out. What are you waiting for? It's just, it's another tool. It's like Google, but with higher powers, I guess.
You can use it for making scripts too. I have some clients who have used that, it's just so nifty because again, you're like, we overcomplicate things so often, and having this be like, oh, look here, it's just this simple. And you're like, oh, right. Of course it's that simple.
Yeah. The other thing that I have used it for that I thought was really super interesting and cool was I would take a piece of content that I wrote for social media, like a longer medium or longer length post. And I have asked ChatGPT to transform that into a full, like I will ask for like, give me full video directive to make a TikTok out of this content. And it's incredible. And I made one specifically following their thing. And I'd be happy to share it with anybody who is interested in that. But I was like, this is actually really cool. Like I might not have thought about, you know, the scene that I'm setting. I might have just gone on and talked about it because that's what I would probably do if I were, you know, just going to do it. And that's often what I do because I am kind of like a keep it simple kind of gal. But I thought it was very cool. It would be like in this scene, you know, the voiceover says this, and you know, you're reading a book or whatever it is, right? It will just give you the directive. And I'm like, well, that is really, really cool. I did not have the creative space to come up with all of that. So that's really, really neat and interesting. So it does have some really interesting uses. And for me, that short form video coming up with some of those creative ideas is one that I really like, although I don't use it often enough, I don't think.
And let's be honest, video is the future. So the more short form videos that you can create, the easier you can make it, the more likely you are. And again, they work really well on Pinterest too, because what they're doing is like stopping the scroll, because you're used to seeing static pin after static pin. And even if you're just breaking the scroll for half a second, like that's an opportunity to get somebody's attention more so than just a standard pin. So if you're not using short form video yet, you definitely need to consider it. It doesn't have to be a talking head video. You have other options. Ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, just ask ChatGPT. There's a wealth of
You're
ideas.
like, yes. How do I make a video for this without showing my face? They'll tell you. Yeah. And they'll make it interesting enough that it would stop the scroll. And that's so hard to do in today's day and age. So having more of it out there and seeing what is working is really what's going to get you there, not ignoring it.
Yeah, and absolutely using some of these additional tools that we have out there can help us to do that much more quickly and get better, faster results. So, and easier. That's what I meant to say. Faster and easier and better results, ultimately, if we are just using some of these tools that are available to us. I mean, we could spend all day probably doing this search that ChatGPT could whip out in 20 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Anyways, this chat was not about AI. However, just saying, it's an incredible tool. Don't be afraid of it. Use it for the tool that it is, not to replace you, not to replace your voice, not to take over your business, but as a tool to help make you more efficient. Anything else that you want to share that you haven't had a chance yet to share on the topic of, again, Pinterest, or I guess passive income?
Well, actually tying back a little bit to the AI, Tailwind also makes your life super easy on Pinterest because they will help you create images. Okay. So you don't even have to get into Canva and do your designs for an hour. You can literally go to Tailwind and say, I need to create like 10 new ones. And I believe it takes your branding. You can upload specific images and you basically just tell it what the pin is about and it will generate multiple images for you in no time that you can just stick in your queue. So just more benefits.
Yeah. And is Tailwind, is that a free app or is that a paid app?
They have a free version and it's enough to check it out where you can take advantage of their communities and submit a couple of your pins in there. You can also try out their ghostwriter with, I think, like 20 or 30 credits, something like that. But I do recommend that you get on their paid plan. They're going to allow you to submit a whole lot more pins into these communities. And that the communities is really one of those secret organic tools that just helps to boost you way quicker than trying to wait for Pinterest. And I can drop a link to that too. That way you guys will have the right Tailwind.
Yeah, there's actually the Tailwind that I know is actually like from running. It's like an electrolyte solution. So definitely a different Tailwind from that. Any runners out there might know of that Tailwind. This one's different. I had one more question I was going to ask, and I got distracted talking about Tailwind. I lost it. Sometimes that happens. That happens. So yeah, so Tailwind, any other last thoughts, or is that kind of your last thought and share?
I'm thinking that's probably my last. I really see the huge potential for passive income on Pinterest that even if you don't have an evergreen offer yet, like there are so many different ways that you can repurpose what you're already doing. So if you're running live challenges or masterclasses, especially if they're paid masterclasses, you should be recording that shit and putting it on evergreen so that you can continue to get paid for it without having to create a whole entire course that might take a couple of months to get going. Yeah. You can just repurpose the stuff that you're doing, because if you're not, you're leaving money on the table waiting for your next launch.
Yeah, and who doesn't want to have a steady stream? Even better if it's a passive stream that doesn't mean you have to keep redoing things constantly.
Exactly. Okay, last point. So even though passive income is something that you can bring in and get conversions without having to put a whole lot of effort into, there is a huge importance in reviewing your numbers to make sure that people who are coming to your website are signing up for your offers. And if they're not, because it's your website's job to make sales for you, like you better figure that out. You better start doing A/B testing and figuring out where that disconnect is happening so that when people get to your website, it is a no-brainer for them to sign up.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we had a bunch of potential links. We'll have them below for the listeners so they can reach out, get in touch, check out these amazing tools that you have, and maybe dive into the world of Pinterest.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Do you have more thoughts?
No, if you guys want to join me inside of my Facebook group, it's called the Passive Income Project, and it's fun in there too.
Yeah, awesome. So we'll make sure that we have all the links below so that you can get in touch with Tarin, take advantage of her checklist, see if you're Pinterest ready, and then reach out when you're ready to rock and roll and you're ready to implement a pinning strategy. You got to call Tarin. She's your Pinterest queen. So thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us today. It has been truly informative, and I cannot wait to dive into my own Pinterest strategy.
Definitely. It was my pleasure, Christy. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And to everybody listening, thank you so much. I love you all. Now let's go do some epic shit, shall we? Mwah!
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Create Your Happy's special bonus season. I trust this real, raw, uncut conversation will fuel your inner fire and provide you with the practical action steps needed to propel you forward. It's time to unlock your path to consciously creating an impact and leaving your legacy. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share with other women in your life who could use a little extra inspiration today. My guest and I would love to hear from you. You'll find the links to connect with us both in the show notes. And if you're ready to take your life, relationship, and business to the next level, I invite you to consider working with me one-on-one. Together, we'll up-level every aspect of your beautiful human journey to create the fulfilling relationships that you desire and deserve. Reach out to learn more about how we can embark on this transformative journey together. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.